In this video for On Shape with the detailed pizza cutters, we're going to start looking at assembling the components together. Now you won't have modelled all of the parts. You'll need to download some of the parts that have been created for you. There'll be a separate video that gives you instructions on how to do that once we figure out how to do that on the school system. But this video will show you how to assemble some of those parts. So we're going to start with the hook end. So what we're going to do is going to create a new document, and we're going to call it the hook end sub assembly. So parts are going together called an assembly, but if you put that assembly into another assembly, then that is effectively a sub-assembly. And an assembly could be made of sub-assemblies that are made of sub-assemblies. We're in our modelling window, but we're going to click on the Assembly tab, and you will see that the tools up here have now changed. And perhaps one of the most important ones is the Insert tool. So I'm going to click on the Insert tool to insert the first part, and I'm going to browse to where I've got that in my documents. So I've got it into Imported Parts, and it's the rear plastic piece that I want. It will do a little preview, but if I click on it and then move it over. Now, if I click, it will just position it wherever it is on the screen where I happen to click. If I go over to here and without clicking in the modelling area, just click that tick, it's now put that part with the origin of the part lined up with the origin of the assembly. However, it could still move around, so I now need to right click on it and click on Fix. So that part now won't move in the assembly. I'm just going to zoom out a little bit with the mouse wheel. I'm now going to add in the other parts that we need for this assembly. So I'm going to click on Insert, and I'm going to go to Other Documents and Browse. And these are in my pizza cutter folder. So I need the guard end. Now, because I haven't previously saved this as a particular version, I need to create a version for it. So I just click on Create a Version. Version 1, the default is fine, and I click on Create, and that will do it. The reason for that is you can have different versions of components, and that's really useful for you when you're doing your coursework, because as you're developing something and you're modifying it because of issues that you found or feedback from stakeholders, it means you can have a trail of different versions as evidence in your portfolio. Given that a version, I'm going to bring that component in. You can see it doesn't quite line up with this one. That doesn't matter. And I'm also going to go back and bring in the next component. In fact, I've brought in the guard end, which I don't want. I want the hook end. So I'll create a version of the hook end. And I'll bring the part in, and I'll go back and I'll bring the hook in as well, which I need to create a version for. And again, just go with the default version 1. Bring that over there. Happy with that, and then the part that I brought in by mistake, I can delete that part so it's no longer in here. So I need to fix this onto here, lining it up properly, and I need to put the hook in as well. Now, if a part comes in and it's not orientated correctly, the easiest thing for me to do is to click on that part, and then you'll see this dialog appear, and I can use that arrow to spin that around 90 degrees. And if I'm happy with that, I can just click out the way, and that's done. And I'll pull this over here as well. Now, the way in which this software works, if you've used SolidWorks before, it works a little bit differently when it comes to the mating. It tries to mate everything with a single mate. So if I was mating this in SolidWorks, I might have to line up the two holes and then mate the face. I might have 3 different mates to hold that in. This tries to do it with one mate. There's a range of different mates here, and they're really good because they allow for functionality within a assembly. So you can have things such as parts sliding or rotating. We don't need that for what we're doing. So we're going to use a Fastened Mate, which means that the parts are fully fixed together. And if I hover over the part, you'll see these little mate connectors appear. So with that mate connector highlighted, I'm going to click the left mouse button, and then I'm going to rotate this round, and on the inside you can see that one's appeared on the inside surface in the middle as well. So I'm going to click on that and click on the tick to say that it's correct. So you can see that that's fitted onto there. Let's go back to an isometric view, and I'm going to do the same with this, but again let's orientate the part first. So let's close the dialog down, and I can then rotate the part 90 degrees that way. If it's not quite right, you can always type in the dialog box and hit enter. And I want to rotate it around this way 180 degrees as well. So spin that round. Okay, so there's these little cutouts here that line up with these parts, and so I can now go to a fixed mate, and I'm going to select that surface there, or that mate point there, with the mate point that appears in the middle of that round surface there. If I zoom out, we can see that it's lined up perfectly. So that little cutout was for the hole to go in, and that's all lined up. And that's that sub-assembly done. So we can go to isometric and just see how that's done. I don't need to do another mate, so I can close that, and that assembly will be saved.